Hey BookTube, this is Greg from Coffee/Books. It is Saturday night. I am at home drinking coffee and going through some books like all the cool kids do. So I just wanted to share these awesome things that I discovered here. Um, they're like, I don't know if you can see. They make, what's the word for that? Okay, they're individual coffee filters. So you get like 10 in a box, and inside of it is like a little filter that you put over your mug and you pour the water on. I love this because, like I said, I live a very mobile life. I can't bring a lot of stuff with me when I go places. So these are really awesome when you just want one cup of coffee. I don't have a coffee pot where I've been living for the past year, so this is pretty awesome. It's probably not that great for the environment, but I do what I can. So I'm pretty sure they're made of paper, so it's probably biodegradable, and it's recycled paper, so it's okay. This country does not recycle at all. They just don't do that, so I can't help it. So yeah, I like having a fresh cup of filter coffee, and that's what I'm having tonight, and just thought you would like to see that. Anyway, I'm doing something different, a different video tonight. I am doing a book unhaul. So it's not official yet, but I think I'm leaving on June 12th, maybe before that. So I'm going to leave the country and go somewhere else where I don't know where yet, but I know I'm leaving here. So I need to lighten my load. Books are the most precious thing I own, probably. The most abundant thing I have. So, and they're heavy. So what I'm going to do is go through books that I want to keep and unhaul, either put in a storage or just send home, and then maybe, depending on when I go back to the States, I'll be able to take them somewhere else or go through them or whatever. So these are books that are either collectible or have special meaning to me. I do have a lot of academic books. I used to teach foreign languages, and I acquired some really good materials when I was here, when I was in Spain, for Spanish, and then I got some really good books. I used to teach Chinese, which is that's a whole nother video. Yeah, so those teaching materials are always a good thing to keep, in my opinion. I always save those kind of things. So I want to send those things home to have in case 3 years from now I have to teach or use them as reference materials. So let's just get down to it. All these books, what I'm going to have to do is bring them to work throughout the next month while I pack and ship, and then mail them from work, because that's how it has to be set up this time. So I'm just going to use boxes and put them in there and mail them home, and yeah, that's it. So the first one is the Greek Myths and Tales book that I got. I like this because it's like a collectible kind of book. I don't want to donate or get rid of it, because that's what I'm going to probably do with the books that don't make the cut. Either books I read, or I know I'm not going to read again, or I just didn't like them and never read them for whatever reason. So they will go to a different home and make space in my suitcase. So that one, A Treasury of Classic Poetry, which I love and I've never read. So I was going to open it and start reading it, because when I found out, it's a combination of me deciding to leave and finding out. I was like, oh, I should work really hard over the next 2 months to read all these unread books, and then whatever I don't want to keep, then I'll send them. And then I was like, okay, it's going to be, the next 2 months are going to be really stressful and crazy. I'm not going to have time to read a lot, and I'm definitely not going to have time to sit there and pick which books I want to keep and which books I want to get rid of, and then go and take them in a suitcase and ship them and blah, blah, blah. So I need to get started now. It's kind of rough. So that, my Library of America books, like my poetry by Gwendolyn Brooks. These books are really high quality, and they're kind of like collectible. They have them in series, so I want to keep them. And then this is the Barry's Port William Novels and Stories, also from Library of America, the Library of America, and also in plastic, but this is super heavy. One of those books that will really build a nice collection, and I want to have that someday when I settle down and live in one place. Outline of American Literature, this textbooky book I talked about before. I just think it'd be a good reference point. I've only read some of it, and I think I'm going to keep it. I love this edition of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. It's just, first of all, like, you have to love Walt Whitman, obviously. But the actual publication is very beautiful. The paper's amazing. It wasn't expensive, but it just feels like a really nice book. So I'm going to keep that. 2 books I got when I was in Spain last year. for teaching and such. There is a Spanish cultural textbook. These are really high quality, like glossy pages. But I can always use these. And then a Spanish literature course, which I think has a DVD or CD somewhere, and I think I already lost it, so much for that. My Japanese textbook from first and second year, I think it was. These are still widely used, and I just don't want to get rid of it. I also still have the CD in here. Yeah, it's like $60 normally. So like it's in good condition, so I want to keep it. Plus, I'm a nerd, so that helps. And these I haven't read yet. I shared them in my haul before. I love essays in general, so I can always reread essays too. So I want to keep these. Haven't read them yet. That's a big factor. I don't know why the lighting's weird. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I might actually use one of these as my travel books for all my flights in June, because I like to just come back to essays or stop reading them or just pick them. It's like if you take a novel on a plane and then you realize 10 pages in you're going to hate it, but then you have 12 hours left of flying, it stinks. So that's why I think essays are always a good choice. This, by the way, is a really good book. It's called Russians by Gregory Pfeiffer. I think he's British. It's from 2014, so some of the stuff's already outdated, especially with everything that's been happening recently. Really interesting insight. I read it. I loved it. I made lots of notes in it and highlights as of my experience from living here, which could also be a whole nother video. And I'm actually sending it to my best friend who used to work with me here, and she departed the country 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago now, and she's back in Washington, D.C., so we can discuss it and talk about it, because it's a very interesting story. On a lighter note, I love Joan Rivers. She's hilarious. These books are absolutely hilarious. Diary of a Mad Diva and her I Hate Everyone Starting With Me. I've read these multiple times when I was having a rough day or whatever, and I needed to laugh because these books make me laugh out loud. I've also sent them to my sister and then a friend, and then they sent it back to me, so it's like this book has actually traveled around the world a couple times. The Little Prince, because it's like a classic, and I would like to read it to my nieces. Hopefully I get to see them and I'll go home. I got this awesome copy of William Shakespeare's Sonnets. Like I talked about before, Jess from Garden Scriptorium, I would say she's like a Shakespeare scholar. I'll link her channel below. I've always wanted to get into Shakespeare, I just was never able to. I was at a random bookstore here in the English section. They only had one shelf, and they had this beautiful, and I think it's pretty new, from the UK, Alma Classics series for sonnets. So I figured, okay, I'll take that too. And lastly, when you're a PhD student and scholar like myself, the APA manual, which I actually bring with me everywhere because I need it, but this time I'm just going to send it home, and I have a digital version. I still like having academic books in hand, so when I'm writing something or preparing for a conference or whatever, I just like using a book. I'm one of those people that still hands writes in my agenda book, also because I'm a nerd. And I like books and paper, touching the paper. It just has a different effect on me. So, that being said, that is currently my unhaul. I have some other language textbooks and stuff that I'm going to send. But this is my first haul that I'm going to unhaul so that I need to ship home. So, that's my unhaul video. I feel like I was rambling. I will not have any haul videos in the meantime because I cannot buy anything else. Like I said, I'm leaving. It's less than 2 months now, and a lot has to happen between now and then when I actually leave, and I could get sent somewhere in May, which I don't know yet. I'm sick of not knowing stuff. That's kind of the theme here. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you're having a good night wherever you are. I'm also going to upload a tagged video that's not related to books. It's personal questions. I did have my TMI tag video if you want to watch that. You can follow me on Instagram if you want to follow my travels. I don't post that much because, as I've said since video 1, I'm terrible with technology and stuff like that. But yeah, so have a good night. Bye, guys.